The NBA playoffs are right around the corner and games are bound to be tightly called. And although the games have been called more like the early 2000s lately, it's fair to say that there have been tough, grown man fouls, especially in the playoffs in recent years, to say the least. I mean, some were potentially career-ending, so you know what I mean. So in anticipation of this year's playoffs, or take this as an appetizer if you may, let's revisit the association's most brutal, borderline malice plays in recent years. That said, let's get started with Trevor Ariza's hard foul on Giannis Antetokounmpo in Game 2, second round of the 2021 Eastern Conference Playoffs. This was a frustrating game for the Heat in general. They were already down big, and for how things are going, looks like it's only gonna get worse. So it's just like any other pissed off guy, Ariza saw an opportunity to ventilate his temper in a very Miami Heat way. Early in the third quarter, while Giannis was going for yet again another fast break jam, Trevor Ariza hit him with a playoff foul, and even pushed off of Giannis's chest. Now, if the play was dirty or just playing hard, it of course depends on who looks at it. But if you want to argue that this was just a typical playoff foul and not a frustration, just check Nemanja Bjelica's foul on Giannis early in the fourth quarter of the same game. Well, I hope that gets you warmed up because our next one's just a tad more brutal. Man, I'm talking about jersey grabbing and then pull straight to the ground level brutal. I don't know if you already imagined the scenario I was hinting at, but I was talking about Draymond Green's hard foul on Brandon Clarke in Game 1 of the 2022 Warriors-Grizzlies playoffs that led to a flagrant 2, which means automatic ejection. Oh, wait, let me correct that. I mean 2 flagrant 1s. Imagine that, 2 flagrant 1s in 1 quarter, actually in 1 play, other than Draymond Green's triple-double with only 4 points. This probably is the most underrated Draymond Green game. Just give it a thought. Who else can smack someone in the face while pulling them down to the ground? And on top of that, accuse the law of gravity for his actions on TV the next day. You know what? Let's put a pause on Draymond. We have plenty of him in this rundown. Next up, let's get a bit spicier with some bloody action. Like elbow to the face, body smack straight to the ground, blood dripping from the mouth kind of action. Of course, I'm talking about Joel Embiid's not so subtle elbow straight to what appears to be Jarrett Allen's jaw in the second game of round 1 of the 2019 NBA playoffs. This led to just a flagrant 1 that drove everyone nuts during this moment. I mean, blood is leaking from the net center's lip. How vicious should it get for the refs to call a flagrant 2? Nevertheless, just like most of the fouls in this video, the severity of the call or just how bad it should be remembered is subjective. What we can agree on is this was a heated series. Competitive? That is a subject for discussion, but definitely heated. To those of you who might have forgotten or probably missed just how intense this series was, let me remind you of how hard Joel Embiid fouled Jarrett Allen. Was the foul a bit excessive? Dirty? It's up to y'all to decide. But it sure agitated Jared Dudley, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and a whole lot of players. Speaking of a heated series and elbow-to-face type of plays, how about we visit the final series of LeBron versus the Toronto Raptors in the 2018 playoffs? Kevin Love grabbed a defensive board from a missed shot by Serge Ibaka with 1 minute and 11 seconds left in regulation. To secure the ball, the power forward swung his elbow and landed it straight to DeMar DeRozan's chin. Inadvertently or intentionally, that's subjective. This was of course a bang-bang play, and we can't just penalize Kevin Love and label that play as dirty. This partially, of course, should also benefit DeMar DeRozan in Game 4 of that same series. On the verge of getting swept, down by 27 points, DeMar seemingly went for a defensive play, but caught Jordan Clarkson's hand and head in the process. This led to an automatic flagrant 2 and an ejection. Man, what a way to end DeMar DeRozan and LeBron James' head-to-head matchup in the East, am I right? Since we already touched on the 2018 Cavs, let's just go a bit deeper in their run in this specific playoffs. How about we talk about J.R. Smith shoving Al Horford? It's one thing to push a high flyer or throw an elbow at a 250-pound giant, but pushing someone from a retirement home at the back? Man, JR is on another level. But yes, that happened. You see this as a well-contested series that reached 7 games, down 0-1 in the series, and this specific game trailing by 8 with less than 5 minutes to play. Things of course got chippy, as Horford was trying to finish a play from a terrific pass from Marcus Smart. J.R. Smith tried to play defense by pushing the old man to the ground. Not so classy, JR. I don't know about you, but every time someone talks to me about the Cavs versus Celtics series, I always go back to 2015. Some may have many recollections about Kelly Olynyk, a good veteran in general, a decent big man, a nice, well-rounded player, and even nicer hair. But Kevin Love might have a very different memory of this guy, considering how this long-haired dude popped his shoulder in Game 4 of the 2015 NBA playoffs, first round, while driving for the loose ball. Ultimately, the Cavs swept the Celtics in this series, but this play, however, had them shorthanded the entire playoffs that year. Speaking of a season-ending foul, this is a good excuse for me to dig a little deeper in the playoffs of the 2010s and remember one reckless player in 2013 that probably ended a dynasty before it even started. You know, it always makes me feel guilty that I get to only drop his name once in this video, and I'm talking about Patrick Beverley. You see, most of his trippiness wasn't done in the playoffs, or if it was the case, it wasn't all that egregious. Well, except for maybe that one. Back in the 2013 playoffs, a season where the OKC Thunders were trying to get back to the finals, our guy, Mr. 94 feet, Pat Beverley, a rookie just trying to make a name for himself, dove straight to Russell Westbrook's knee in Game 2 of the first round of the playoffs. Now, let's be fair, Pat Beverley is a very good aggressive defender who went for a steal, but this is a play where he clearly crossed the line. Whether he intended the kill shot or not, diving straight to someone else's knee is reckless. That said, let's talk about more borderline intentional yet clearly reckless plays. Of course, we can't continue this rundown without mentioning last year's Pacific Division Showdown, a hard-fought series that lasted for 7 games. But maybe even with that tightly contested series, brilliant plays from the young, feisty Sacramento Kings and Stephen Curry still imposing his dominance, one that shines out is Draymond Green stepping on Domantas Sabonis' chest. Down 0-1 in the series and down 4 with roughly 7 minutes to play in this specific game, after falling to the floor, Sabonis grabbed Draymond Green's ankles and no one ever saw the next thing that happened coming. Draymond Green stomped Domantas Sabonis' chest and it was heard all around the world, and for a good reason. I mean, those plays happen in the octagon, but I don't think anyone ever saw that type of play in a basketball court before or since that play. And as severe as that play, maybe more priceless is Draymond Green not showing any remorse, and even justifying the tussle by saying he has nowhere to land. Alright, let's talk more about Draymond. How about him showing Steven Adams his MMA skills, landing a kick straight to the big man's family jewels in 2016 Western Conference Finals? The play got even more controversial since it was ruled as flagrant 1, which meant Draymond gets to stay in the game. Ultimately, the Dubs won this series and became one of the 13 teams to ever win a series down to 3-1 in NBA history, and this play, like it or not, was crucial to that story. Ironically, and probably one of the grandest of ironies, the type of play that got the Golden State Warriors back to the NBA Finals is the very type of play that placed them in the position to lose on the grandest stage. And of course, the irony would only be completed if it is played by the same character, Draymond Green. The fateful play happened in Game 4 of the 2016 NBA Finals. What makes this play worth rewatching for years to come is that the flagrant foul wasn't actually called during the play itself. It was called retroactively after the review. The Dubs might call this one a bogus call, and Cavs Nation will clap back with Draymond clearly extending his arm and landing what looks like a punch in LeBron's groin. However you look at it, this scuffle played a crucial role in the Cleveland Cavaliers' comeback. Though the Warriors won this game, Draymond was suspended in the next game, since that flagrant foul was his 4th in the playoffs. The Cavaliers won Game 5 and grabbed all the momentum by winning Game 6, and ultimately becoming the first ever team to win an NBA Finals series down 3-1. Two historic comebacks, all because of one player. 2016, man, what a year. Back to our rundown. Even with all those uncalled for ruthless plays, reckless attacks on another person's masculinity, and history-defying plays, maybe the most iconic hard foul in recent years is Zaza Pachulia sliding his foot under Kawhi Leonard while rising for a jump shot. Not only did the Dubs come back from a 29-point deficit, but they swept the Spurs in this series. But even bigger is this started a long chronicle of Kawhi's mysterious injury and opened a can of worms for a once heralded organization. Murmurs on treatment, timeline, and almost shadowy way of handling this specific point in their organization's life started to creep out. Then finally, the once beautiful couple ended everything in a messy divorce, with Kawhi requesting a trade in 2018, which landed him with the Raptors, where he won them their first NBA championship while getting his revenge against the Warriors. Also, to emphasize the magnitude of the Zaza sliding on the Kawhi incident, the association put in place the Zaza rule, where officials are now able to call flagrant or technical fouls on defenders who dangerously close on jump shooters without giving them space to land. Ultimately, all these hard-nosed playoffs plays are according to my taste. How about you? What's your take? Did I miss a crucial play? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more basketball content, just like and subscribe for more.